Hello and welcome everyone to our next panel about AI-assisted development. I'm really excited to have amazing guests here today. So we have Rishita Kalyani with us today from Miro. Would you tell us a few words about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Rishita, and it's actually Miro. A lot of people call it Miro, but it's based on painter Miro. I am leading async collaboration in Miro, and we build 0 to 1 products for our users, and it's been fun doing that, and also seeing like how in the past 1.5 to 2 years how industry has pivoted with AI, especially given that in my previous life 10 years ago I used to be very close to building LLM models, and coming from that perspective to this perspective and how it is helping the industry shift, it's been quite interesting to see this, and I'm excited to talk about it.
All right, thank you. Great to have you here with us today. Then we have Shimana Pao, Global VP of Engineering at SumUp. Hello.
Hi, Luke.
Hi, would you tell us a few words about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Simana Paul. As Luke told, my current role is a global VP of engineering at SumUp, and I lead a team of data scientists, machine learning engineers, and software engineers. My responsibility is to look after risk management globally for SumUp. We operate in 37 countries, and I'm responsible for risk management globally for SumUp. And we build product solutions which help us to mitigate and prevent risk and financial fraud and financial crime using machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I've been doing this thing for quite some time. I have a lot of experience in data, AI, and analytics, and platform strategy and cloud strategy. I started my career a long time back, and been in the industry for 24 years, and last 14 years in a leadership role. I'm very excited to be here today and be part of this panel, and looking forward to having a wonderful discussion.
Great to have you here. Thank you for introducing yourself. And then we have Sebastian Schnelle, who's head of data science at CRIF. Hello. Hi and welcome. Would you tell us a few words about yourself?
Hello, thanks for inviting me. Yes, of course I would. So, as you said, my name's Seb. I'm the head of data science, which means I lead a team of specialists that focus in model development for credit risk and fraud risk prevention. We use traditional models as well as machine learning and AI. That's why I'm here. So I'm both an AI user as well as an AI creator. I'm a physicist by training, so I come from the sciences, and then I switched to banking and risk management. So I'm that by experience. And yes, I'm very much looking forward to talking about AI.
Okay, so let's start this. It's going to be a wonderful panel, I'm sure. All right, so kicking things off, I'd like to say that navigating AI integration is both a significant challenge and obviously an exciting opportunity. AI is revolutionizing the way we approach development, so I'm sure there's a lot to explore on how we can use it, how we can use its potential while ensuring smooth implementation. So let's dig deeper. Let's dive into these things and let's hear your insights. I like to start with this thing. Surely it's a disruptive technology. So this AI assisted tooling is affecting our daily operation. It's changing, I don't know, our search patterns, how we work, cross functionality between the teams and everything. How do you see this? How this is affecting your daily operations? Rishita, would you like to pick this one up?
Yeah, sure. I think talking from the disruption perspective, like thinking especially about 0 to 1 products and what kind of products that we build. Let's start from there, right? Uh, when AI started disrupting industry, a lot of products that were being suggested to be built sometimes expected too much to be done for users. And over a period of time, we started understanding what AI can do for us because we ourselves started using this in our day-to-day workflow. And I think the more we use it, the more we understood that what is the expectation from it and what it can do, right, for us. So we started also building products that made more sense for our users. And I think this particular aspect is kind of helping us also innovate faster and better products, but also, like the more we adopt, the better we get at it in terms of productivity. So one of the things that every engineering leader wants is to make their teams a bit more productive, and I think AI came with this a lot of hope that everyone will be a lot more productive. And that's where we as leaders are trying to invest in getting the best tooling for our teams so that they can search better. And I think that comes from context, right? If you invest in a better product that can get better context of your systems, then they can search better. And how you save time is basically, I mean, our engineers are very senior engineers, very good engineers. They've been working without AI as well. But what you are helping them to do is that instead of using Stack Overflow or reaching out to a person, like reuse what is already being discussed with that context, right? And then they know they save those few seconds. And I think those few seconds pile up. And over a period of time, they pile up. And I think this context sharing is something that is a very big pain point in big industry, in big companies, right? You have a lot of knowledge that is being shared. We also live in a time where there is a lot of disruption in terms of like layoffs, in terms of also people being with knowledge being not in the company anymore. And I think this context, if we are able to share this context well, then that time saved is actually very, very important in terms of productivity.
Right, right. So essentially, what you're saying is that it all started with a hype. So we started treating it as a silver bullet, like it will solve all our problems. But as we moved on, as we were deeper into what AI can actually do for us, we
Yeah.
started to understand which types of tasks, which types of problems it can actually assist us with, because it's still ultimately about assistance. It's not really about giving it to do the job, but rather helping unlock those things that we are best at, while taking those tasks that are more mundane, let's say, or repeatable, or can be uh, some way can be solved through
Yeah.
algorithms rather than people, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's also about taking mundane tasks, but also transferring your skills, right? For example, I have an
Mhm.
engineer in my team, Sarah. She's really great at just transferring her skill from a random tech stack that she has to a new tech stack that is needed for building a new product, right? And the amount of time it takes for you to gain new skill has been reduced so quickly because you can work with a co-pilot or you can work with a tool, and if you get better at working with this tool, then you get better at developing your new skills. And it's not just for productivity of an organization but also growth of an individual, right? So you are yourself like learning how to use this product and helping yourself to grow as well in this area, right? So you are completely right, Luke, that we are not replacing people, but we are just allowing them to do their job that they were already doing, just with
Right,
better toolings, right? So that's what we are
right,
doing.
right. You're very correct. Yeah, we see those things also in our organization. Anything you would like to add on top, Seb or Shimana? Anything you see working differently while having this AI assistant tooling present in our daily operations?
Well, I'd just like to add that, these tools are great. They have their shortcomings. That's one of the things you should never forget. They make mistakes. They sometimes suggest stupid stuff. So the people still are important, and it's important that they keep their eye on the prize and that they don't switch off their brains and trust the AI too much. It's a tool, and you should always be careful with your tools.
Right, right. Totally correct. All right. So moving on, I'm thinking surely there are a lot of challenges because, well, one thing is people willingness to try it out, to experiment with it, and I think that's deep in engineering DNA to try with new things, to experiment, to see how they work, and assess the outcomes. But then it might be that our organizations are not really entirely ready for those new AI tools, like some processes that need to be adjusted, maybe some fears or even risks that are underneath that just simply make things harder to actually be able to implement AI assisted solutions, tools, environments, and so on. How we can overcome those challenges? What are your experiences in this area? Shimana, maybe you would like to comment on this one.
Yeah, sure, Luke. I think it's a very good question, and I think while it is really important, to figure out the optimal strategy for the organization, as you said in the beginning, I think it is also an fantastic opportunity for the organizations and individuals as well. And I think what I've seen that there is a plethora of AI tooling, but the adoption is still not great. And I think there are multiple reasons why we are still not seeing that much of adoption. And from my experience, what I've seen, I think there are multiple reasons why that happens. First of all, I think to summarize is the data and the cloud and the AI strategy has to come together, and they also all has to work as part of an ecosystem. I think that's very important. And why I say that is if you have inconsistent or siloed data across teams and departments, it is impossible for you to have a good AI strategy, because whatever you put in there, it's going to not going to work. The second thing is, do you have the expertise of AI and ML, or people who understands the scope of this? That's also something that the organizations need to think. Then there are multiple bottlenecks that we see from ML ops, mainly not just in the classic machine learning, but also in generative AI space. And cost is, of course, a very important constraint for any organization, so that also has to be kept in mind. But I think the biggest bottleneck is you really need buy-in from your team members, your data scientists, your software engineers, machine learning engineers. You really need to have the buy-in and to build a culture where they're feeling psychologically safe to experiment. So that is quite important, I feel. Now, from my experience, I think I don't want to just talk about generative AI, but I also want to talk about classic machine learning, because I know there is a lot of hype about AI, but machine learning has been there in production for more than 2 decades, and it's not a new thing. And what I've seen, the challenges that I've seen in classic machine learning, the main challenges is, as I said, is about data, the data management and the preparation. If you don't have a good system in place for data management and preparation, your strategy is not going to work. The second thing is about model development and experimentation. Have you chosen the right tool there? And do you have the right environment to make it successful? And of course, of model deployment. So from my experience of working in the industry for that many years, I think some of the tools that really help us to make good real-time machine learning solutions, we use in SumUp feature stores. We use both online and offline feature stores for data management and data pipeline. So offline feature stores are used for model training and experimentation, whereas the real-time decisions are made using the online feature stores, and that really help us to make this milliseconds of decisions that we have to make for financial risk management. And there are multiple tools that we can look at for model development. We use PySpark and Jupyter, but there are other options also. So that is about I want to talk about classic machine learning, because we should not forget that AI has been here for many years before the hype that we have from LLM. Now, in terms of LLM, and I'm actually leading the strategy of AI in SumUp. So what I've seen from my experience, I feel it is divided into 4 main areas that we need to look up in terms of recommendations. So you asked me what will be my recommendation. So I think the first thing is, you really need to look at about your enterprise AI tooling, right? So tools that are people using for searching, for knowledge support, for data analytics. So there are multiple tools, right? I think we all know about ChatGPT. There are some other tools that we use, LangDoc, which we have seen providing multi-model support, which is really good. Gemini is a good tool. It provides in-app support for Google Docs, and there are some no-code agents like Dust that we have used that has also been very helpful. I think the most important thing, you have to choose the right tool for your organization. Think of the need that you have, and then you have to tweak it based on what you need and what kind of problems you're trying to solve. So that's the first area. The second area, which I think Rishita already touched upon, is about helping with the AI development tooling, right? And I think the GitHub Copilot and Cursor are the 2 tools that we have used, and I can recommend those 2 tools because both provide quite good in-app support and recommendations in terms of writing code, debugging code, and supporting code. And Cursor, we have seen, is really good with also with large code base and in-app support and chat support with VS Code, which has been very useful for us and helping us to improve the productivity of our team. The third area, and which is often overlooked, I feel, but it is very, very important, and this is something we're actively discussing this in SumUp, which is the platformation, because your AI solutions cannot work, and whatever tooling you choose is not going to work if you don't have a good platformation solution. And what I mean by platformation, you have to have the way to share data, but you also need a good method for observability and monitoring, because LLM is also an engineering practice, so you'll have to think about how are you checking the prompt, whether the prompt is a good prompt, and how are you making sure that the prompt quality is good if the model is not thrifting, and looking at the cost aspect of it and logging part of this. So observability and monitoring is very, very important. And we use Langfuse currently in SumUp, and I've seen a lot of success with this. It's really good because we can actually see very good monitoring and logging. And if any of you are looking for a tool in this area, I will really suggest you to look at Langfuse. It's an open source tool as well, so quite good from the cost perspective also. And last area, which I think where the companies need to look at, which is of course is the backbone, is you really need AI assisted development, which is the application development. So if you might have very good mechanism for enterprise tooling, you might have the solutions like chat gpt and data and all, but if you're not really able to inspire your engineering team that you really need to build applications with AI, then I think you will never get the full benefit of this. So here again, I want to share my recommendation. We use Azure AI. We have a contract with Microsoft, and we have seen great positive results. There are other solutions also which are equally good, and OpenAI is equally good, Gemini, and Llama is also coming up. So these are some of the recommendations that I can suggest, and I feel this is a very exciting time for us because we are actually seeing the market being exploding and lots of opportunities. But I feel be cautious. I think it's really important to do an experimentation and proper experimentation and understanding and learning. And last but not the least, absolutely you have to keep a human in the loop. So we have actually developed number of solutions and products in SumUp, and they are being productionized, and we are seeing huge benefit in terms of operational efficiency. But you have to do this in a way so that you keep a human in the loop. You cannot just ignore that machines making decisions, and I can talk about this in a lot detail because we have the experience and how we have done that thing. But I'll stop now. But I think it is quite interesting and how the opportunities lie for us.
Yeah, I think it's. Thank you for commenting on that. I think it's a great takeaway to always have this. I don't know. We should have a post-it on our monitors that says "Be cautious," because I think it's a great piece of advice when touching anything LLM or machine learning related, right? And I so much agree on the data part, because we are speaking with a lot of organizations about implementing an AI, and when unpacking possibilities and trying to understand where it would actually help them out, it turns out that we need to turn into data management first and make sure that this is properly done before even getting into more complicated things and trying to see what can be the outcome that brings benefits, because a lot of organizations are having problems with data management, or challenge, maybe not problems but challenges, and there's a huge opportunity there as well. All right, thank you on commenting on that. Anything my other guests would like to add on top of what Simana said? Rishita, Seb, anything you would like to comment on?
Yeah, I think I really agree with Shimana when you say keep humans in the loop, but also like when you build products, right? Solve actual human problems with those products. Don't just we have AI today and that the AI boom, which makes us think backwards. That now we have tech, which was always existing, as Shimana said, but now people know that there is tech existing. And then people go a little bit more from the other end, that now there is tech, what can be built, and if you start from that, you're going to build products that is not going to solve actual user problems, right? So don't forget to always start from humans and then see if AI can help you solve those problems, right? And then I think that reduces the risk a bit. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, great point.
Yeah. Keep risk management in the back of your heads. Don't forget about it. Sorry, I'm a risk manager. I can talk about this forever and ever. The human in the loop. Let's make sure we have the control, because you don't want the machine to run rampant.
Yeah, in the panel we just finished, there was a nice claim that any change we make to a product is ultimately bringing new risk, right? Because we're changing something that is already working and solving things, but then putting on top something else, it just changes things, and we are never going to be sure 100% that that's going to be a great and predictable outcome. All right, so yeah, moving more into those challenges. Well, the quality of the responses that we get, because there's a lot of this talk about AI is around generative AI, and we know that the quality of responses are as good as the training data was for those models that are underneath. So how can we make sure that there's fairness built in there, there's transparency, that we are certain that we can be maybe not certain, but at least calm with what we get from those AI assisted toolings, and that we're not getting some hallucinated outcome or anything like that. And of course, there's a risk about data leakage and all those things connected. Seb, would you like to comment on this topic?
Yeah, well, there's two stages, obviously. There's the building the AI and there's the using the AI. And both you have a responsibility to make sure that you know what's going on. And I mean, basically, it's about really understanding what's going on, right? For most people, AI is basically magic. Yeah, but it's not, it's tech. And you have to understand it and you have to understand its limits. And that's what I'm trying to get across to people. And I've told you earlier that I'm a physicist by training, so I will use an example for what I mean by that comes from physics. And I promise you, you won't have to understand physics for it. You will still get it. So
All right.
I always tell people that, learning from data is different from learning. And what do I mean by that? When you've heard of quantum entanglement or Bell's theorem, then you know that these are very complicated concepts. Yeah. And most people don't get them wrong. Yeah. The funny thing is, if when I went through uni and I learned about those, it took me time to figure it out. And in the end, I could understand that most people were wrong about it because I understood what was going on and I've learned what that was about in reasoning. Now, that's not what statistical learning is. And that's why the term learning is dangerous. Statistical learning means you follow the herd. You don't understand what you're doing. So what we found when you play around on the internet, and you can try that yourself, if you get an AI like ChatGPT or something to explain Bell's theorem to you, it explains it wrong. And why does it do that? Well, because it's not understanding what it's telling you. Yeah, it's a parrot. It parrots what most people on the internet have said about Bell's theorem. And what most people say about Bell's theorem on the internet is simply wrong. And that's why you always have to be careful, because shit in, shit out. Everybody knows that. Still, we think about, it's artificial intelligence. People trust too much into what they're getting. But that's on the user's part. So on the part of the developer, obviously you have to think about fairness. As I said, if you get a lot of shit in, shit comes out. So be aware of biases, be aware of discrimination, be aware of anything in your data set that might be skewed for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be malign. Yeah, it could just be you're using a set that's very peculiar. And if you do that, you'll get very peculiar outcomes. So if you train data, check the data, make sure you understand the data, and think about potential outcomes, because these things affect people's lives. I've heard the last few minutes of the talk, and there was joke about the risk involved when an algorithm recommends the wrong movie. And then it was joking, it's like, yeah, well, it's ruining my evening. Well, what about if the movie that's recommended is some really hardcore, I don't know what stuff, and it's shown to a kid? Then, we're not just talking about ruined evening. So you never know what your system could potentially do in terms of harm, even if you think it's not harmful. So be sure you understand your data. Secondly, there are confidential data. There are data protection, privacy concerns. Yeah, if you build your own AI to use on your own data, think about where that's going. Who's using it? Who's seeing it? People may have trusted you with their data, so it's not even yours that the problem that you're creating. It's somebody else's problem. So think about these things. And then, as I said, risk management, confidence levels. Is it a high risk system? Is it a lower risk system? What risks could even like low risk systems have in the long run? So think about the confidence you need with your predictions. All that should go into the AI development process to build AI responsibly. On the other hand, as I said, you have the user. And the users, you have to be very careful, because accountability is mostly about policy. Yeah, that some people get to check and make sure that whatever they're seeing is true. So, but you said hallucinations are a common problem. So make sure you check if there's sources given, check them, make sure they exist. I've got a friend who's a lawyer who always asks AI to give him, famous cases that he could build on, and he always finds that about 1 in 10 of them is a hallucination, doesn't exist. And that can happen for each and everything, because the data that a system has learned that might be outdated. So it might suggest to you as a best practice what's not a best practice anymore. So I really want to bring home the point. I think people realize that it is a tool. Use it responsibly. Yeah, if you're using a saw, you would tell people like, this is very good for cutting, but be careful, don't cut yourself. And so AI is a very useful tool that we can use, but we have to use it responsibly. There should be clear guidelines on what people can and cannot do. There should be clear guidelines on what people have and do not have to check. There should be clear guidelines on what can I put into this, right? If I let ChatGPT analyze a customer list of mine, maybe I'm sending this customer list God knows where, so maybe I shouldn't be doing it, right? So these are the concerns that somebody has to think about. So make sure you have processes in place, that you as an institution know what you're doing, and that somebody actually sat down and thought about it.
Right. Yeah, that's totally correct. Anything you would like to add on top, Simana, Rishita?
Yeah, I think, Seb is absolutely on point. And I think what I've seen from my experience, absolutely, when you're using tools like ChatGPT or Gemini, make sure you have an enterprise agreement so that your data is not used for training purposes and model training and not going in the internet. That data protection part is really important. Choose a partner very carefully who will protect your data. And, you have to constantly learn and relearn and retrain the models. As I said, we have been doing this thing for classic machine learning for many years. You have to constantly retrain the model, see the result, and you have to keep on doing this thing. And absolutely learning from human, that is very, very important, what we are seeing from the human learning. So without that, we can never be successful.
Yeah, totally correct. All right. I think we have 1 minute left, so I will try to wrap things up. I think what's coming out of this discussion is, while we feel there's a lot of optimism, a lot of potential to unlock some things, maybe to enhance our capabilities, when I'm thinking about, definition of engineering, the first word that comes to my head is always curiosity. And I think this curiosity always defined engineering. Like, we like to know what's underneath, how are all those pieces working together. And this curiosity is actually leading us towards understanding more what this AI assistant tooling, AI assistant development really means. Well, at the same time, stay cautious about it, and use it in a smart way, and being able to say when it's actually helping and when it's actually producing garbage and it's not really doing anything useful for our teams. But surely an exciting times to be in, because, well, this is surely disruptive, as we started with this claim. So thank you for being my guest today. Thank you for bringing your perspectives and bringing your experiences to the picture. It was really nice to talk with all of you and gather what you did in the topic, what you're still doing and exploring. I really had fun today, so thank you a lot.
Thank you so much, Luke.
Thanks so
Thank you
much.
for having us.
Thank you. Bye bye.